3 weeks today until the madness starts. 3 weeks, 21 days until all hell breaks loose in the Pokemon market and the 30th celebration actually releases. September 16th, it's getting close. So I'm on Pulse today to have a look at the 30th celebration pre-order prices and compare it to what Ascended Heroes was like before that actually released, because Ascended Heroes is the closest big specialty set in the modern era that we've got to 30th celebration. It even had a similar staggered release. So we're going to compare the two pre-order prices and then the price action of Ascended after it did release to see if we can see any links or patterns developing with the 30th pre-order prices as well. And then after that, we're going to look at some of the sets that are going out of rotation in the next block in April and see if there's any interesting price action there or any interesting price points where we might want to pick up some products before they run up after the print cycle is finished. So let's start here first. 30th celebration Pokemon Center Elite Trainer Box pre-order prices. So when it first went available for pre-order, it was over 210. Now the latest pre-order price is 165. Now I'm actually a bit surprised at this. I thought it might be pre-ordering higher. I thought it might actually be at genuine silly prices, but it's an indication of how much of this is maybe out there on the market, how many people have got pre-orders, and it might help keep the price down. If we have a look at the Ascended Heroes Pokemon Center Elite Trainer Box here, I've highlighted the week here. It released on February the 20th. This is from February the 9th to the 15th. So the week before, it was pre-ordering at 145. So 30 celebration is only slightly above it. But we all know what happened with Ascended. As soon as it came out February 20th, it just went absolutely crazy and skyrocketed all the way to £350. Now, do we think that 30th celebration is going to do something similar? I think there's a lot of people out there imagining that it will, but I'm a little bit more reserved on this, and there's a couple of reasons. Now, if you've watched some of my previous market videos, you'll remember this point. Right around here, in fact, it was the exact same week, 151 reached its highest point in price for the PC ETBs, the regular ETBs, the booster bundles, all the other products, reached its very peak right here. And what happens then? People who bought at the bottom were selling at the top, and all that money, what did they do with it? They rolled it into the next big popular thing, which was Ascended Heroes, and it just helped absolutely catapult the price up. Now, obviously, Ascended Heroes was also helped by the fact that it had humongously expensive chase cards in it. The Pikachu, the Gengar, all the rest of them, the God Packs, everything like that. So there was multiple factors at play here, which meant that the Ascended Heroes ETBs and PC ETBs skyrocketed to the moon. Now, does 30th celebration have those same trigger points? There's not another set going out of rotation. There's no other set at the moment that's climbing to sky high prices. In fact, everything's coming down a bit. So you haven't got that influx that this had from the 151 top sales going into 30th, because there's nothing at the top at the moment, and we don't know exactly how expensive the cards are going to be. But if the previous anniversary set 25th tells us anything, is that they're going to be easy to pull. There's going to be plenty of them. We know more of it's been printed. It should keep the price of the chase cards down, which then means the price of the sealed product won't jump up as high. So I'm going to be a bit more reserved with this. I'm not going to dive in on day one on the 30th celebrations Pokemon Center Elite Trainer Box, because that is the item that I would like. I've got my 2 on pre-order. I'd like more, but I think potentially this could go a little bit crazy day 1, day 2 until the sheer volume of it hits the market. And I could see these coming down 150, maybe even a touch lower. I really could. I don't think it's going to have the same traction that Ascended had. So I'm really going to keep my eye out on these and really watch the price action closely, because if the history tells us anything, and we're over here on price charting to get that 5-year chart, this is the 25th celebrations Elite Trainer Box. Look how long it took for this to grow. It took 3 years, over 3 years, before we started to see the drive up in anticipation for 30th anniversary. So if you buy a Pokemon Center Elite Trainer Box or regular Elite Trainer Box of 30th too high out the gate, and then they drop and settle just like this did, you could be in for a long wait before you see a return on that. So just be careful out the gate. There isn't a big price punch coming in from a set like 151 to help flood the market. We don't know if there's going to be expensive cards in it. Data and history would suggest there's not going to be, not to the point that Ascended was. So just bide your time. Don't dive in too early and just watch the price action on these. Now, next up, I'm going to have a look at some of the sets that are going out of rotation in the next block. But firstly, I just want to glance at the chart and the trend graph from the previous block. So this is block G. This is what went out of rotation last April, which was 151, Scotland Violet Base, Paldean Fates, Paldea Evolved, Obsidian Flames, and Paradox Rift. Now, what I want to point out is not every set, just because it's going out of rotation, has a massive rise in price. Now, we can see with 151, that one did. That was the elite set of the block, had a huge price rise. The other sets, though, while it wasn't a spectacular price rise, they all still experienced some gains. We can see the pink line here was Paldean Fates, went from 197 regular ETB up to 277 in just a small period of time, and has continued to grow a bit. The green line here is Obsidian Flames, 144, then it started to spike with the market and it went up to 216. So although the graph actually looks slightly flat, that is a considerable percentage growth. Same for Paldea Evolved, was at 117, actually rose up in that period to 158. And again, that is a considerable percentage growth, and it can continue to trend up slightly after that as well. So here's the sets, and here's what's going out of rotation. We have got Temporal Forces. The booster box has been creeping up. It was down at 161, now at 222. Not a huge amount of these around on the market, not a huge amount printed. There's not a huge amount of sales every week. This booster box going out of rotation, that protects it for me. So I think at anything under £250 for one of these booster boxes, are you going to see explosive gains on it? No. Are you going to see a steady gain on it? Could it creep over 250 up to 270 next year or so? Absolutely. And I like the PC ETB as well. Yes, it's crept up a bit. The best time to buy was back in January. But any of these PC ETBs going out of rotation that are under £150, as you would have seen in my video about which products have seen the biggest percentage gains, which I did recently, and the PC ETB was nearly 400% from MSRP on average since the start of the Scarlet and Violet era. They just go up and grow so much that I don't think they're ever a bad buy while they're still just above £100. Now, Twilight Masquerade booster box 240 is actually only just slightly above Temporal Forces. Now, people will argue that Temporal Forces overall is a better set, but this has the bigger, better, more popular chase cards with the Greninja and the Eevee, and in the future that will really count for something. So again, this one, just when it's about to go out of rotation, has been very flat for a long time. It's under 250. I think if you want one in your collection, now's the time to get it before it potentially has a small jump up in price, or even could be a large one. On to Stellar Crown. Now, the booster box for that one is at 260 at the moment. Now, it was short printed compared to some other sets, so it's got that rarity there, but it's not the best booster box set. But with the PC ETB being down at 123, it was actually recently up at 142. The Noctowl stamp promo in it, I really like that promo. I think while it's at this price, it's definitely one if you don't have them in your collection. I'm repeating myself there, but I do think with a lot of these products, it's time to pick them up, because as we've seen with the previous block and block G, which is on this trend graph here, they're all here. In the corner there, the cheapest PC ETB from the previous block, so just a year older, is £191. Now, all these ones we've just looked at recently there, Temporal, Twilight, Stellar Crown, they're all under £150. So you've got a good potential percentage gain there to get up to where Paradox is at 191. So don't discount them. These are really good products and they grow really well. Now, Surging Sparks. Now, the time we all know was to buy it was down here. It went below £200. But this for me is the third best. It's in the top 3 booster box of the Scarlet and Violet era. You know, all the PokeTubers talk about it. You all know the information about it, but it's still at £250. I don't see how this in 3 years' time doesn't double in price, be a £500 booster box, being a big Pikachu themed led set with great chase cards in it. I think this is, Prismatic, we know in this block is going to be like the 151 of its block where it runs up the most. This is the second best one. And as we've seen on the trend chart before, Paldean Fates ran up quite well behind it. I expect this to run up the next best behind Prismatic when these do go out of rotation. And here is Prismatic. This is the one that everyone's got their eye on. This is the one that everyone's expecting big things from. But I just want to temper some expectations a little bit. I don't think it runs quite as hard as 151 did. 2 reasons. 151 was more of an iconic set that a lot more people were interested in. And secondly, there's a lot more of this about. So while I expect it to have a decent run when it goes out of rotation and people start to FOMO in, I don't see that kind of 100% game run or more that 151 had. So if you look at the PC ETB though, it is in a healthy position, down from £423. We've not had a reprint or a restock. What's out there is out there, and it's naturally come down to under 350. So this is a really interesting price point. If you don't have these in your portfolio, this for me, in my opinion, is definitely the time to pick them up. Keep your eye on it. Could it tick down a little bit more? Would you be sorry though picking it up at 340? No, not. I think it goes back over 400 or more when it has its run as people FOMO in after Christmas. The booster bundle. Now, I love booster bundles. I picked up a bunch of these when they were at £50. I picked up the 151 bundles when they were at 65 before the run. I was telling people to buy these when these went below 60 or just around 60 here. People know that these are a really good product. They've already started to go. They've already started to have a run up. The only thing that could slow it down now would be a late restock of them. We've seen a very late restock of booster bundles for 151 just before Christmas, just before they went out of rotation. They were everywhere, all over eBay, getting sold on and scalped. The only thing that, would I buy these at 70 over some of the other products that are in Prismatic at the moment? Probably not. Will we see a growth? Will they eventually end up over 70? Yes. Will we see a better price point for these in the near future? I've got a feeling we see more bundles hit the market, just like we did with 151 before they went out of rotation, and just like we did with Crown Zenith before that went out of rotation as well. Don't forget that. But when it comes to Prismatic, these are the products that you want to pick up at the minute. We had a huge restock of the SPCs, like we all know, down from £290, a whopping 290, to just under 200 at the moment. If you can get a good condition one of these with no tears, no rips in it, for £200, I don't have any. I would really like to get hold of one. I'm going to keep my eye out. This one is a massive product to pick up now. We know how well UPCs and SPCs do over the long term, and it's going to do well in the short term as well. And now onto the regular ETB, the last item that I'm going to look at today, because this has come down from a huge 180 all the way to 130. And it's just, look at the chart though, it's just ticking up ever so slightly. Is it starting to see its little movement, just like we've seen with the booster bundles? It could be. Are we going to get any more of these into the market? I doubt it. It's not going to be a reprint. We could get a little restock. I don't think it's going to affect the price growth in any sense. These, for me, really, really, really good pickup at this point. I expect to see these. Could they hit over 200 when we get the out of rotation run cycle? They could. They really could. They're not going to go to 400 like 151 did, but if they get over 200, that'd be an incredible percentage gain. So that's this week's UK Pokemon Midweek Market update. And if you enjoy the Pokemon Market and investing kind of content, I'm Cal. This is CalsPokeMart. I'm doing these kind of videos on a regular basis, weekly now. So please hit subscribe and make sure you don't miss any future videos. And if you enjoyed this one, please leave a like and let me know in the comments where you think the price points of 30th are going to go from the off and where do you see them drifting in the first few weeks after release. So I hope you enjoyed the video and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.